Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? This is Dr. James C. Birdsong Jr., founder, president, and executive director of Birdsong Association of Broadcasting Arts, known as BABA. And welcome to the 2022 first annual Mentors of Performing Arts of Broadcasters Virtual Conference. Today, we are going to be doing the record labels and distribution discussion of this great informative conference. So at this time, I'm going to introduce our moderator, Mr. Troy Edwards, to introduce our two distinguished panelists.
Yep. Hey, how you doing, everybody? We're gonna have a wonderful time getting knowledge. Pull your pens and pads out because we're gonna give you some good stuff. My first panelist is Talene Harris. She's a former lead singer of Atlantic Star, former Black Miss USA runner up, and we got MC Nice, who works with Tupac. He's award. You can see all the awards in the background. He's award winning. He's worked with Tupac, MC Light, and he's worked with Aaron Hall. I mean, he's been doing big things. So I'm glad to be a part of this conference panel. So we're gonna have a good time. So what we're gonna start is we're gonna ask Talene the first question. You know, for these young inspiring artists out there and executives, let me know how they can succeed in this music and in the music label and as a distributor.
Well, it's one of the things, the key things, and thank you all so much, first of all, Mr. James C. Birdsong and the entire staff for having me here today. I'm honored to be here alongside with my brother, MC Nice, and Troy Edwards, very much forces to be reckoned with in the industry. Listen, if you want to be successful in this business, one of the first things that you have to do is educate yourself. A lot of our artists are so uneducated about what they say they love, about what they say they want to do. It's more than just being in front of the camera. It's more than just being in front of the microphone. It is something that you have to take the time to get the knowledge that you need to be successful. And I think that's one of the main things that I see with a lot of artists, not just artists that are just up and coming, but some people that have even been around for a while don't know certain things and what's happening, the ins and outs of the industry. So I would say education first.
MC Nice.
Well said. Shout out to Birdsong, the association, and everybody on the panel, man. Troy, Talene. It's always good to be surrounded by greatness. One of the first advice I can always give is that always start with a motto. And my motto is for any great achievement, someone has to be the first to do it. So why not you? Right. And then the second one is to strive for perfection so that you limit your mistakes. We're not perfect people. We're gonna make mistakes, but if you're constantly striving to be the best you that you can be, you'll be successful. And with that being said, when it comes to the music business in itself, at the end of the day, you have to determine whether you want to be an artist, whether you want to be a producer, whether you want to be a record label exec, a distributor, because all of those take different type of skill sets. And with those skill sets, you have to be dedicated and committed to that. And so that's what I would say. What Talene was saying is that one, you have to commit. You have to commit to whatever it is. So if you want to be a label exec or a distributor, then you have to study everything that is label, everything that is distribution, not what the artist is doing, not what the producers is doing. Is how do I be an effective label representative, because you're not an executive until you actually put in the work, right? And so at the beginning, you got to figure out what makes that. And at the end of the day, I use a motto I called a model. I call SWOT, SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's normally used to, as far as business, when it comes to business, and for an investor to determine if you know your business or understand your business or not, if I'm going to give you some money. Well, you take that and make it applicable to label, right, or to the industry. So who are the strongest label executives and who are the weakest? Because you have to study these things. Who are the strongest distributors and who are the weakest? Because these are the things that's going to help you get to the next level.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. And my next question is basically a lost thing with the new generation. And I like this question because I want y'all to explain to me the importance of being a mentor because the young generation, back when we was growing up, we had our mentors, we represent the mentors. But we need to let these we want to ask the question of these inspiring young artists, how the importance of having a mentor. Go ahead, MC Nice, you start with this one.
Well, mentor to me means wisdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, wisdom is being passed. The business that was conducted in the 70s wasn't conducted the same way in the 80s or in the 90s or in the 2000s or the 2020s. At the end of the day, what it boils down to is when you have people that can pass you on this knowledge, then you get to bypass some of the shenanigans and stuff that is taking place. Just imagine, if we weren't here to pass on the knowledge to the artists about understanding, contracts or understanding publishing or understanding sync licensing, at the end of the day, we would be doing a disservice. So I think the mentor's importance is wisdom. And with that wisdom, you gain knowledge.
Wonderful, wonderful. You elaborate on Miss Talene Harris?
I could have said that better, my brother. Mentorship is also important when it comes to the type of chemistry that you have with your mentor. Someone you can see them and they could be great. They could be where you want to be. And that's one of the things that I always say. If you're looking for a mentor or someone to look up to and to pattern things by, then it's important that you also have a good relationship with them because they should be able to tell you when something's not right and you're not getting attitude, right? They should be able to tell you when you're doing a great job. They should be able to pour into you, as MC Nice said, the wisdom and the knowledge because you don't have it yet. So, the key is to make sure that you maintain a posture of being teachable. A lot of people always think, okay, well, I've arrived at this certain place. I know what I'm doing now. No, you still may need some, still may have some teachable moments. And so a teacher is always a student. So maintain your student license, if you will, so that you can be teachable by the mentor. And just make sure you all have good chemistry and make sure that you're able to be able to receive constructive criticism and also when you're doing a great job.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. And this is another good question because the current state of what record labels and distributors are going on. Many artists are going the independent route due to changes of the music industry. Do you believe that these young artists should stick with the independent route, or they should be out there pursuing a major deal?
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
Yes, go ahead, Talene.
I
I just
like
start
that
this one first.
Listen, I've had the opportunity to be on both sides of the coin, right? I was signed with Arista Records, major label. Clive Davis was the head person at the time. And I'm going to tell you, I learned a lot what it meant to be signed to a label. And the things that you have to do, sometimes that you don't even want to do, but because you're signed to the label, you got to do it, right? Because you're contractually bound to do those things. The label takes care of everything. They have all of these different departments that specialize in certain areas, whether it's marketing, whether it's creative direction. So you make sure your CD cover looks great, producers, vocal coaches. I mean, they have the gamut of everything that is needed under that umbrella. However, but when you are an independent artist, you are responsible for all of those things. And that transition for me was pretty challenging. I spent a lot of money that I didn't have to spend. People that weren't necessarily honest could have told me, took me under their wing and said, hey, Talene, I know you understand what it means to be a signed artist, but let me walk you down the street with this independent thing because it's a totally different situation. And so I learned a lot of things by trial and error. I was able to take some of the things, of course, that I learned from being a signed artist and just being an artist, period, and learning how to manage my career, my label, my music, my creative direction, whether it was production or whether it was the actual graphics, because, you know, I'm an award-winning graphic designer as well, been designing for over 30 years. So all of those pieces are very vital as an independent artist to know how to do those things. And if you don't, please hire somebody. Please don't try to DIY your stuff and it looks a hot mess. All right. Because I see a lot of that out there. So I would definitely say it is a different path. What path would I take now as an artist? The sign situation would have to be really, really good for me to sign with someone. I love having the creative freedom to be able to do what it is that I do and nobody tell me I can't do this or I can't do that. And yes, there are some drawbacks because you don't have as many resources sometimes as an independent artist versus a signed artist. But I love being an independent artist, so I wouldn't trade it for the world. Just be knowledgeable about what it is that you're getting yourself into.
Wonderful. MC Nice.
Hey, I've been on both sides of the coins too. Signed to Mercury Records, so they don't even exist no more. Think about that. Right. Here's the beauty about, you know, being both an independent or a signed artist. You yourself have to determine what phase are you at in your music career, right?
Mhm.
So if you're a new artist, being signed to a label is not that bad, only because they're going to finance everything. You know what I mean? So I hear people going, "Oh, these 360 deals are this, that, and the third," but at the end of the day, you have nothing, right?
Yes.
So you have nothing, and they're getting ready to pour all this money into you. That's the give and take when it comes to that. So I think going the label route, like if you're being signed to a major label, that you got to understand what comes with that. One, you don't have control of your career. That's one. But that's something you have to sacrifice if you're trying to get to the next level and you want them to take you to the next level. Two, you're probably gonna want some of everything you got. Your publishing, you have to determine, are you willing to sacrifice all of that? Or do you even know what publishing mean to not sacrifice it? So it's one of those things like Talene was saying is, one, educate yourself when it comes to that. Now, the other side of that is being an independent. Now, if you want control of your stuff, you want to be able to put it out when you want to put it out. You don't want to be under some scheduling, or you don't want to have to wait until Rihanna's album come out for your album to come out. Then at the end of the day, then by all means, do it independently. But keep in mind that independent is just that. It's you. Right. So you have to be responsible for the marketing. You got to be responsible for the graphic design. Right. You got to be responsible for all of these things. And it ain't free. None of it. You know what I mean? So you got to go in with being realistic with yourself. I put out a book called Music Release University to give people the understanding of how to actually release a record. Because if you ain't spending no money on yourself as an independent, then you're not going to win. There's no such thing as freemium anything. You know what I mean? Even the free sites aren't free. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you have to go in with the understanding, okay, as an independent, I'm going to need at least $50,000 to $100,000 for my career. You know what I mean? Sure, you can spend the 10s and 20s, but it ain't gonna get you to where you think it's gonna get you, especially in today's time when it comes to that. So independently, yeah, if you got the energy and the financial liquidity to go after it, hey, by all means, that is the best way. But at the end of the day, if a record company is going to put 150,000 to 200 grand into my records, into my and I ain't got to pay that. You know what I'm saying? It's a loan, by the way, keep in mind. So it's a high interest loan. That's all the record deal is. It's a high interest loan that you got to pay back, and they're designed to keep you in debt, just so you know. At the end of the day, so at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to. Independent, you're still gonna need to spend some money. Major, they're gonna spend the money on you. You're probably not gonna be free for about 5 years.
Yes.
I just want to piggyback on something that Nice said, because I think there's a huge misnomer with being a signed artist. There is something called recoupment, recoupables, as he was mentioning. I'm giving you the actual technical term in the industry. You know, that means that if they spend $150,000 on your project, all of that has to be paid back first before you see a dime. So that's why a lot of artists back in the day, I don't know so much that they do that now, but they would have to get a signing bonus because, as Nice said, it might be 3 to 5 years before stuff starts really moving with your career, and you have to have money to live off of, because that 150 grand went towards your production of your project and getting it out there and promoting it and everything like that. So learning about the industry and understanding what labels do, understanding what distribution does, understanding what management does, understanding what a booking agent does, all of these things have their place in the industry, and you as an artist or need to know if you want to do, if you want to do well and be successful.
Yeah, and to add to that, a record label, all a record label is a bank. The artist is an investment. Long as you're an investment, the label is happy. Once you no longer invest an investment and you owe the record label money, you could be shelled. Anything shows you do, they have to recoup all that. The independent artist, you can control all that, but you got to know where you are in the music industry, and everybody wants to be signed. The plus with a 360 deal and the minus because of an independent is you're independent, you do what you want. You might go out there and get 20 shows. But if you sign, and people think 360 deal is all bad. It's not always all bad, because you can go from that 20 shows as an independent. You basically become a kind of a partnership, but they can put you on a 75 city tour and see where the money's coming in. So there's a good and bad with 360s, but the young artists need to know where they at. If you're making noise as an independent artist, keep making noise. If you invest in yourself, invest in yourself. So, but that's where, we at on that. But the next question is a good question, because, these young people have access to the social media and to showcase their talents with record labels, distribution, and all that kind of stuff. But how important is social media as a tool in the 21st century? I'll let MC Nice start this time.
Well, if we're talking labels and distribution, at the end of the day, it's the most important for me as a label guy is to understand how labels work. You know what I mean? So if it's social media, then I'm on social media looking at Def Jam. I'm on social media looking at Arista, looking at Sony, looking at all of the different labels and how are they operating. So, in regards to the social media, they might just be pushing their artists. Now, as a label, does that matter to me at the moment? Could be, but if I'm trying to get the infrastructure together, then that's not gonna work for me. But I think for the most part, social media is normally is just nothing but, I call it digital street team. Right? It's nothing but your digital street team. You're gonna take a bunch of people, we're gonna go to Twitter, we're gonna blow out the artists, we're gonna go to Instagram, we're gonna blow out the artists. Like, it's nothing but a digital street team. So I think it's only applicable when it comes to, it's more applicable when it comes to artists versus label and distribution, because label and distribution is about, where do we put this record? You know what I'm saying? Where do we put this record? Where do we put in this record? And then understanding all the different mediums in which the record can be advertised through.
Now, let me ask a question off of that. Where educate the young people, let them know what they should be doing on social media to take their career to the next level.
I don't know. Did you have any answer on that? Then we can come back to that one.
No, go.
But I didn't know if she had.
No, I was. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, it's really about what genre they're in. Yeah, it all boils down to, like you said, educating yourself. So the bottom line is, okay, when it comes to when it comes to what genre am I in. If I'm in hip hop, then I'm studying everything the hip hop cats is doing, the hip hop executives are doing, the hip hop radio is doing. You know what I mean? These are the things you have to have, in your arsenal so that you know how to operate with efficiency, right? Same with me. I'm in Christian hip hop. So I have to go, okay, what Christian hip hop media is out there? What Christian hip hop media social situation is out there? How are they moving? So I know how to service them my record when it's time to do it. So as a young person, if you're trying to figure out how to get out there, you have to study. Okay, so that way you can present yourself in the best light that you can possibly present yourself so that you have a effective chance of winning.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, Talene, give you both questions. Elaborate.
Yeah. Tell me the first one again.
It's a platform. What's the how important is social media in the 21st century, basically?
So, in reference to me, as far as what labels should be looking for with their social media presence, is making sure that they have a team that's going to push their artists on social media. Social media is huge. You have to have a following. You need to get a base. You need to be engaging. You have to do all of the things that are needed. Whatever's hot in social media right now, like TikTok and, sure, people are still using Facebook and Instagram, but there are always trends happening with social media. And as a label, you need to have a team that's going to keep up with that, because otherwise your artist may not be in the forefront, in the face of the people on social media the way that they need to. So I believe, yes, it is a huge responsibility of the artist also. You can't have the label working like a dog and you not posting anything at all. And I see a lot of artists do that, independent, especially independent artists. They think that, if I pay a marketing and promotions company, like if you hire, 3HP Promotions, and you have Troy to do your promotions for you, and he's pushing you, and you haven't posted anything in 2 months. No, thank you. That's not good. You need to constantly, as an artist, be engaging your audience and building your audience and your base, along with the companies that you may hire to help broaden your horizons of other people, because after a while you do tap out, right? You tapped into everybody that you know in your social media presence. So it's important for you sometimes to realize, now I do need to go to the next step. As a label, I may need to hire a company, that can give me a better result than what my team is giving me. So you have to look at all of those things and function from there and say, are we being effective on social media? Not just us as a label, but is my artist being effective also?
Yes, and of course,
the second question?
The second question is, what things should they be doing on social media to get attention?
So definitely you gotta post every single day. And there's so many resources out there. I'm gonna give y'all one. Pinterest. Get on Pinterest. They have all types of plans on how to post on social media. You don't have a clue. Okay, you got help. There's YouTube, of course. But Pinterest is a really good one because it will give you a physical schedule. Okay, post today about your favorite thing. Okay, post today about your project. Okay, the next day, post about, something, that upcoming event that you have. You have to rotate your posts so people don't get tired of seeing you posting the same thing. You post your CD cover. This brand new is coming out. Okay, next day is brand new is coming out. You have to be able to mix it up, because people get bored. And if they see the same thing over and over again, what will they do? Ignore it. And because, being in graphics and branding for so many years, that's one of the things that I'm very good at, I believe, is I mix up my stuff. I'll change colors. I'll mix it up so that it's not the same exact graphic. because once they've seen it, they don't want to see it again. And I'm just being honest. And so you have to understand social media. It's another, educate yourself. It's so many resources out there. There's no reason for anybody to be uneducated about any of these things.
I want to
Yeah.
tap in. I want to piggyback off that. Pinterest is actually the third largest search engine, right? And so the beauty about Pinterest is that it allows you to create boards.
Right.
You know, you can you can have boards and categories where you can say, okay, like for interest on mine, instance on mine, I have my billboard rise, and it's everything I did in Billboard, right? And mind you, that's pinging. Do you tag your pictures properly? It'll ping all your Google and everything. It'll give you ping. And then another one, it'll say, these are the abstract art that I like, and it's nothing but a bunch of artistic abstract pictures. And the beauty about it is that other people see it and other people can like it. Other people can reshare it. Like it's a whole different wave. So you are absolutely correct when you say, hey, go to Pinterest, because Pinterest is really one of the ones, it's just as important as actually Facebook.
Sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And another thing, me as being, a national rec executive and using social media, and let these young aspiring artists to know what we looking for, and using social media is definitely a major platform. And what we look for is your followers on Instagram. We look at your content, how many people is liking your stuff on Facebook, everything that you're doing, YouTube views and all that kind of stuff. Once we see that, and we see that you already have an engine that's moving, we're willing to invest in that. And some artists come to me and say, check me out, you're a pretty good artist, and then you don't have no social, that means I have to dump more money into you to get the exposure. But the independent artists are getting millions of followers, have YouTube, everything, all the followers are up, and you got a audience behind you. We don't have to dump his money. We know that when we see an artist who has that, we'll jump on board to make that engine go even further. So that's how you go from independent to major, and those are things that we're looking for. So like I said, all these artists need to know where they're at in their career. Everybody wants to jump the gun, but they don't want to put in work. And you have to put in work for us to want to sign you. So you have social media, and as far as that's why social media is a very important tool, because back in the day all we had is magazines. We didn't have social media, and you see all these artists going diamond and all this kind of stuff. Imagine what they would have done if they have social media now. If you have social media, is a great platform, and I encourage you artists out there to use it. Use all the tools. Use everything that we're telling you, so you can go to the next level.
Yeah. Let me tag on to that. So
yes.
Another thing is if we're talking artists, understand the analytics. Study to get into the analytics of whatever it is you're in. Facebook has analytics that tells you these are the people that's checking for you. You know what I mean? Instagram has analytics that tells you these are the people that's checking for you. So that way you know how to you know how to craft your marketing and hone in on your audience.
And that's true, nice. I mean, even with the analytics down to the time frame, like when you got most views and stuff like that, you have to look at, well, why was that particular post mostly viewed? Look at that post and really examine it and say, okay, well, maybe I need to start doing more posts like this. Like I noticed when I post just a picture, and I mean just a picture of myself, I get more hits on that than I will me saying, oh, I'm releasing a new single, And so you have to sometimes learn the algorithms also and be conscientious about that. So if I realize that just my picture is getting a lot of hits, then I need to maybe put some different things in my status along with just the picture, so that I can get the information out that I'm really trying to get to my audience, versus, okay, I put my cover up there and they're like, it's about, 50 likes. I put just a picture of myself, I got 200 likes. I'm like, what happened? So learning, you're absolutely right. Analytics and the algorithms about Facebook is different from the algorithms of Instagram. It's different from the algorithms of TikTok. And TikTok, you guys, is actually has less algorithms going on than any other platform right now. It's more open, if you will, to a lot of different people versus, everything's so streamlined. Only a certain amount of people see your stuff on Facebook and Instagram, because if you're not liking everybody else's stuff and they're not liking your stuff, it doesn't show up in their timeline and they forget about it. I mean, they just forget about it. They don't go to try to go and look for whatever you have going on. So I also believe that coming off of social media and developing your own database is important. Your own database of emails, your own database of phone numbers. Why do I say that? I have a mobile text alerts, and I think you do too. Nice. I think I see you. I have a mobile text alerts. Why? Because everybody reads their text messages normally before they'll read an email. But then sometimes people are still old school. They'll still open up an email. So you gotta have both. These are marketing tools, you guys. These are just little extra nuggets. These are tools that you really need to be tapping into.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Now this is a good question right here, and let's reflect to college. How important it is for inspiring artists to attend college and following high school to advance their skills, and how to obtain things hands on. But what is your opinion about that?
Education is always good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can never go wrong with education. But I'm going to tell you, I've gotten better education by just being in the mix, and just being in the trenches, being in the places where things are happening, placing myself in the right places so that I can receive what I need to advance my career, to advance my gifts, as well as working on them myself. But you placing yourself around the right people that can pour into you. As we're talking about mentorship, this person may never mentor you, but just being in their presence and spending 10 or 15 minutes and them dropping a few nuggets on you could change the trajectory of your career. So being in the midst of things, and as they say, having OJT, on the job training, there is no replacing that in a book. I can read about. I remember before going to California and being a part of the group of Atlantic Star, I remember I was seriously studying that big old book, The Business of Music. I think I had that one, and then I had another one. It was a red book. I can't remember what the name of it. It was all music, business related, because I was determined I was not going to be an ignorant artist. I was 23 years old. Okay. So I was young. A lot of times they think when you're young, you don't know anything, but I'm going to tell you, I could run with the best of them. I got in meetings and I was like, nope, this is not right. This is not right. I'm reading this contract. My contract was like 30 pages. And I was able to go through the contract and dissect it myself before giving it to the attorney and letting them know exactly what I wanted. That takes you doing the work. As I think Troy and MC Nice have both said, you got to do the work. So having that is important. So don't neglect. Yes, going to school, you can learn things too, but that book is nothing like the OJT, and that's just my opinion.
MC Nice.
Yeah. It's crazy because I went to college and my degree is not in music, and I don't even use my degree. So it's real interesting. I felt like, it's on one hand, I'm like, yes, I got a degree. On the other hand, it's like, for real, I wasted 4 years for this. You know what I mean? And so what I would say is this: education is always important. You have to determine what it is you want to do. So if you're going into the music game, there is no college for music outside of music theory. If you want to learn how to, do that part, your best bet for me is prep school or trade school. You know what I'm saying? The Music Institute, where you actually learn the business of music, or you learn, a recording, or these are the things you get if you're not going to be, get fortunate like some of us to get on OJT with a Def Jam or a Warner Brothers or Arista. At the end of the day, you have to go to where we would actually go. We would go to the Music Institute over the colleges, because we know that 9 times out of 10 we're gonna get a kid out of there that actually understands what we're talking about. So for me, I'm a proponent for college. If you go in journalism, communication, doctor, all these other great things, but if you're in the music business, trade school is your best way to go. And I say trade in regards to the performing arts, different performing arts schools, that's going to give you that in-depth knowledge in regards to how this works. There's nothing that beats. I know what book you were talking about, the Kashif book. You know what I'm saying? That back in the day when Kashif put up, right? And so, but at the end of the day, you're right. The book doesn't teach you nothing. I mean, it teaches you, but when you get that OJT, it's a whole different vibe, because the music business changes every single day. The algorithms of yesterday is not the algorithms of today. The marketing of yesterday is not the marketing of today. The distribution of yesterday is not the distribution of today. So at the end of the day, if you're not in the mix of it, you're not going to know. When you get out of college, after you got to go through those first 2 years of English prep and all of that other stuff, you don't really go through your major. You're going through the requirements. The music industry done already moved on a whole another 3-4 years. So get into something that's in the know. And right now, for me, trade schools is in the know.
Yes. That was a great answer. Like me, I had buddies who went to college. We all wanted to have a record label and do what you want to do. And, and they went to college. So I decided to go do internship at Def Jam. So by the time they got out of college, and when I did injunction, I learned from other people. I was out there in the field learning, building connections. So by the time they got out of college, they couldn't find a job. But when they got out of college, I'm already making noise. So what I'm telling people they can learn from that, you can go to school to get your education about everything you're doing. But during the process, do the internship, work hard, get to know people, build your connections all together. No, don't do one and not the other. Do both at the same time. So if there's any mistake that I made, I should have did both at the same time, because at least I would have had those degrees and everything to fall back on music. I did go to college, but I got degrees in different things. But I was an architect. So, but I want people to know, okay, the mistakes I made and how to change that. So that's why I encourage people, if you go to school, build your connection, do internship, do both at the same time. So when you get out, you get your degrees and you already got your connections, and there you go. You will, your career will move much faster.
I agree, Troy.
So I believe that was the last question that was given to me. James?
Definitely. I hope it's been informative.
Yes.
We've given today.
Yeah, so we encourage people to go out there, get your distribution, work hard to get your distribution. You got to show numbers. If you want distribution given to you, you have to show the numbers. You can go out there and get distribution, but if you want distribution to come to you, you got to have the numbers. If you want labels and you want a label to sign you, right then it's all about numbers. So I definitely encourage the younger generation, inspiring artists, you're inspiring young executives out there. If you want to get in this game and you're serious about it, put in work harder than the next man. Me, I wake up every morning with a smile because I'm working my dream. And people get up and dread to go to work and to do what they do. There's a lot of people that do that, but there's a lot of people that love their job. I love what I do. I get out of bed and well, I don't sleep much, but once I get up, I'm encouraged because God gave me this position and I do this 24/7. And it's just amazing to me I can able to do this 24/7, love what I do. And what I do, I always try to work harder than the next man. And I encourage you young artists, you want to blow up, there's a lot of young artists out there. Work harder than the next person. You got any advice you want to give the young people, MC Nice?
Yeah, it started with, like I said in the beginning, strive for perfection so that you limit your mistakes. And for any great achievement, someone has to be the first to do it. When I first started in music, I was a Christian hip hop artist. Back then, it wasn't called Christian hip hop; it was gospel rap, right? And that at that point, it was the church that came down on me, like, "Yo, that's the music of the devil. You're not gonna make it to heaven." Like, it was just all of these things, these negatives that was coming at me in regards to the music game. So I ended up walking away from the church for a little bit. End up coming back, but during my journey in music, I was able to learn the things that was necessary to be successful in the music business. I started with the first Latin rap group in the history of rap music, Lighter Shade of Brown, that actually cracked the Billboard charts, and then went on and we did put out a greatest hits album, and then learned about the industry and had to reinvent myself and became a producer, which you see on the back wall some of the accolades that I attained, and then had to reinvent myself, and then because the music industry was shifting, what I mean, and it had to reinvent myself, and then when God told me to take all the stuff you learned back into Christian hip hop and give that to my people. And that's exactly what I did. Took all of that and came into the Christian hip hop space and was able to attain a lot of stuff in regards to 5 #1 records on the Billboard charts, including the #1 gospel album, opening up doors for my brothers and sisters to come through after the fact. And it wasn't really about me. It's about opening, preparing the way. You know what I mean? When we talked about earlier about mentor, some of the younger kids today don't really want to listen to mentors. So you got to kind of like you show them without telling them. Right. And so in this case, it was like, okay, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. And then they'll go, oh, well, I can do that. You know what I mean? So it's a whole different way of mentoring. But that's what I leave.
Awesome.
Talene?
Yeah, our young people are in a different place. They have so much that at their fingertips that we didn't have coming up. I remember the days of being in the studio and I was doing a demo. Young people probably don't even know what a demo is. You know what I'm saying? So, we had to do those things so that we could try to be seen by labels, and you send it off and hope that somebody hears you, but they throw it in the bucket with the rest of them sometimes and they don't even listen. So there's a whole different way that music is done now, like you said, Nice, and just the way the industry has changed. And you have to learn how to reinvent yourself. You have to learn how to keep up with the times. That's why you still see Patti LaBelle out there. That's why you still see, Uncle Charlie out there, Charlie Wilson. You still see some of the old school artists out there that are still relevant. Because they understood that they had to reinvent themselves. They couldn't stay in that place, of where they were, and they have to evolve. We are all evolving every single day. Nothing stays the same. And so as long as you understand that, like we've been sharing throughout this entire broadcast, the importance of educating yourself, staying up on what's happening, what's current in the industry, making sure that you're up with the times so that you can remain relevant and continue to grow and to blossom. And I just would encourage young people, it's okay to listen to us old heads. We actually got we actually have a little something to offer to you as well, glean from our knowledge and our wisdom and our experience in the industry, because it really could save you from a lot of heartache and, you know, throwing money away that you know could have spent somewhere else and things like that. Planning, planning, planning. If you don't plan, you plan to fail, right? It's important to have a plan. I don't care if you scrap it on a little piece of paper or something. I mean, most of us put stuff in our notes on our phone. Have some kind of plan, and then get a team that will help you push the plan. Those are some of the things. And then make sure you work in your career is a business. Make sure you work in your business. Make sure you understand your business, and that way you'll be successful at whatever it is that you want to do in the music industry.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
So we
just to
keep
tap
that.
in on the back of that is not only are you a business, you're a brand, right? And brand awareness is like really big. There's a Sprite. You know what the Sprite model is? It's not. It's where they take the their whole thing is built not about the soda you drink. It's all about how you look, with their drink. Their whole thirst. There it is. I was like searching for it. Thirst is nothing. Image is everything. That's the
Mhm.
Sprite model, right? They'll
Wow.
say, anybody can give you a soda, but here's how you look drinking hours. You know what I mean? They'll have you on the yacht. They'll have you on the ocean. They have you on the whatever. Why? Because they selling you. Anybody can sell you a soda.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to music business, brand identity, brand awareness is everything. If you don't understand that part of it, you're not going to succeed. The beauty about the gift and the curse with the young people today is that they have everything at their fingertips. The curse about everything today is that they have everything at their fingertips. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
what it all boils down to is they have too many options. When we were
Mhm.
coming up, we didn't have the options. We knew
Nope.
that we had to get the demo done, get it. Hopefully, you send it off to all these record companies. Hopefully, they call us back to do a showcase. Because I'm from the era where we had to go do showcases in order to even get seen by some of these. And then, with the showcase, then they willing to talk to you, but they still ain't gave you a deal. But, that was one of those things. Or you have to catch an executive. I remember one time I posed as a UPS driver and delivered my record to Warner Brothers. You know what I mean? As a fact.
How
It's real facts.
creative.
You know what I'm saying?
I
And
love it.
delivering my record, you know what I'm saying? Because I wanted, and I got a call back, but I forged it, said it was from another executive, you know what I mean? So that the particular executive I was trying to reach was actually going to get it, and they got it. And they was like, how dare you? But we love your record. You know what I mean? So we had to figure out ways. Now with all these things at your fingertips, you can just pretty much you can reach out to LinkedIn. You can go reach out to any executive you want if you pay that. If you here's a advice: LinkedIn. If you pay the $50 a month, I know it's expensive, but they give you emails to everybody that's in the game, so you can you can take that. Send out, go reach out to the A&Rs, go reach out to the magazines, go reach out to the editors. Like, this is one of those things where that $50 is worth it for me. And I done got a few magazine articles and stuff just by doing that. You know what I mean? And it's expensive, but you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to put into you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what? Nice piggybacking on that, marketing, or should I say, a publicist is going to cost a whole lot more than $50 a month. You're looking at a charge of about 1,000 to 1,500 upwards. And it depends on what level you go. As far as the publicist is concerned, and their contacts and their ability to be able to put you in a place is going to cost you a whole lot more money than $50. So when you find that's a hack. So when you find hacks like that, go ahead and dive in and make the investment, but just make sure you utilize the investment. That's the key. Don't pay the $50 and don't do the work. You got to go and find the emails and the phone numbers and contact these people and see if they'll be interested in you, be on a magazine or talking to you about a deal, if they're a record or label executive, whatever it is that you're looking for, just follow through.
Yeah. Also on that is when you reach out to these people, be professional.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can't just be like, "Yo, I'm the hottest in Newark, New Jersey," because that don't matter to them. At the end of the day, when the beauty about it is you can look at these people, research them, find out what they like, find out what's going on, find out what the label needs, and then figure out how to approach it from that standpoint. But at least you'll have the connect.
Mm-hmm.
Professionalism is very important. There are a lot of unprofessional people in the industry, especially those that are just coming up because you don't know any better. And you will be above the rest that don't carry themselves in a professional way. They'll remember that about you. Oh, that person was real professional. They were courteous. They understood the importance of punctuation, the right ones, if you're typing letters and things like that. They have Grammarly. Get stuff. If you need help, there's a lot of stuff out there, you all. Just don't come halfway. Make sure you come all the way, especially when you're dealing with those types of people.
Yeah, so and I encourage y'all to not give up. I mean, I'm one rec executive. If I tell you your stuff is not good, don't, it's my opinion, even though I get paid for my opinion, but at the end of the day, I'm get paid for my opinion. But don't give up on your dream if that's your calling. And if people tell you no, like MC Nice can tell you, there would, he's a Christian rapper. There was churches he wouldn't let Christian rap in, but it never stopped him from doing what he's doing. Look at him now.
Yeah, never give up.
I hope everybody can hear me. Yes, I'm asking everybody to please post your comments on this discussion on today. We are at the closing part, so I'm gonna allow our moderator to give his 2 minute remarks, followed by two panelists, and then I will come back.
Yeah, like I said, we what we do is help people fulfill their dreams. There are a lot of people in my position, executive position, don't even look at independent artists. They're looking at artists that's already established, already making moves. But I'm one of the few people out there that's giving people opportunities for soundtracks and all that kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, God uses me as a vessel to help people fulfill their dreams. And we need more people out there like me. And like there's other people out there, but don't give up on your dreams. If you're looking for record label distribution, you can hit one of us up. We'll guide you to where you go, because that's one thing. That's why the younger generation is young. That means they need guidance, and we need to be guiding people where they need to be and where they want to go. So, but and I encourage other rec executives out there listening to, pleading with them to do the same thing. We got to help the next generation get where they are. So, but that's what my saying on that, Talene.
I would just say believe in yourself and surround yourself with those that believe in you, and never stop, never give up. Continue to push, continue to educate yourself, continue to evolve, and continue to just allow the greatness that's in you to come out, because it does take time to develop yourself as an artist. And even if, like I said, you want to start your own label, things like that, make sure that you're educated, that you find a mentor, and that you take it by the reins and you do what Nice said, do something that somebody else has never done before.
Yeah, I would follow that with, at the end of the day, be the best version of you that you can be. Don't lie to you. Look yourself in the mirror and be like, tell yourself the truth. Because when you could, I made mention SWOT, SWOT, when you can SWOT yourself, understand your strengths, understand your weaknesses, understand the opportunities you can take advantage of or may have missed, and understand the threats that you pose or pose to you, you can be an effective individual in anything that you want to do. But you can't lie to you. You got to be true to you, and then you got to apply, yourself to these things. That's why I say strive for perfection so that you limit your mistakes. Period.
Thank you so much. Again, I would like to thank our moderator Troy Edwards and our two distinguished panelists Talene Harris and MC Nice for their participation in the record labels and distribution discussion of the 2022 first annual Mentors of Performing Arts and Broadcasters Virtual Conference presented by Birdsong Association of Broadcasting and Arts, where our motto is preparing today's youth as voices in arts and broadcasting. Please post your comments. Please share this with the young people in your communities and all over. Please come back and join us. We're going to have two more discussions for today. From 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will do radio broadcasting discussion. And at 8 from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it will be television broadcasting. So to learn more about our organization, please visit our official website at www.babaonline.org. Again, that's www.babaonline.org. And you can learn more about our organization, our programs, our projects, and what we're going to do from here in the future and our partnerships with this organization. Again, I would like to thank Troy Edwards for doing an excellent job of moderating this discussion on today. We appreciate you so much. And I would like to personally like to thank Talene Harris and MC Nice again for doing their part to share with our youth in the Black community about the tools they're going to need to be successful with record labels and distribution. So, and I'm asking all the viewers to please post your comments at this time. And on behalf of the administration and board members of this organization, we thank you so much. Continue to keep us in your prayers. And we will have two more discussions on today, and we will come back on next Thursday, October the 20th, for academics, followed by award shows. Friday, October 21st. There will be musicians, and next Saturday, on October 22nd, the administration board members of the organization, we will do a 1 hour recap of to close out the finale of this informative conference. So I'm going to ask if our moderators and panelists to stay on here after the live goes off. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. We will see you at our next discussions. Take care for now. Bye bye.